You know, a lot of ghost stories are about unfinished business, right? Well, this one is about an unending hunger. So today, we're going to dive into a chilling modern legend from India, a story that wraps itself around a remote village, a stormy river, and a spirit with a very specific craving. This is the legend of the MESNO BHOOT, which, yeah, literally means the fish ghost.
It's a question that just kind of hangs there in the dark, doesn't it? But for this one family, the answer wasn't the wind or the rain. No, it was something far older and way more sinister, just waiting for them by the water's edge. So let's just dive right into the scene.
Okay, so our story kicks off with a classic horror movie setup, right? A family shows up somewhere new on a dark and stormy night. But trust me, the storm raging outside has got nothing on the one that's about to hit them inside their new home.
So picture this. You've got Toppin and his family, and they're pulling up to the caretaker's house in the middle of this absolute downpour. The caretaker, a guy named Bhuvan, he's like, hey, going to the bungalow now in this weather? Not a great idea. But the family's exhausted. And then Bhuvan does something really odd. He turns down a ride in their car and insists he's going to take a totally different, super muddy path on foot. Yeah, in the middle of a storm. Weird, right?
Okay, so get this. As they're driving along the riverbank, they are completely floored. They see someone walking by the water, and it looks exactly like Bhuvan. They're just sitting there like, how in the world did he get there so fast? Especially since he said he was taking a completely different route. It makes absolutely no sense.
So by the time the family actually gets to the bungalow, the mystery just gets deeper and deeper. This is really that moment where, the normal, rational world starts to unravel, and the first real sign that something is just terribly wrong shows up.
So they're settling in, and who shows up? Bhuvan. He got there using the back path just like he said. And the family, they're still totally baffled by what they saw, so they just ask him straight up, how'd you beat us here? We literally just saw you by the river.
And his response, it's just a simple, flat-out denial. And it's super chilling. He's like, me? No way! I never went near the river. He tries to tell them they must have been mistaken in the dark. But the family knows what they saw. So that leaves the big question. If that wasn't Bhuvan, who or what was it?
You can just imagine that feeling, right? The unease from the night before is just hanging in the air like the morning fog. The family's trying to just write it off as a trick of the storm. But when they get up the next day, Bhuvan calls them over to look at something outside in the mud, and it's proof that whatever happened last night, it definitely wasn't over.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really creepy. Bhuvan basically lays out this horrifying logic. First off, he points out that the footprints aren't leading to the river. No, they're leading from the river, straight to their front door. And then he points out the detail that changes everything. The feet that made these prints, they're on backwards. And in South Asian folklore, that is the one unmistakable sign of a ghost.
So a few days go by. The family's trying their best to just, settle in and forget about all the weirdness. But whatever came out of that river, it's not done with them. Not by a long shot. And now, it's starting to focus on someone in particular.
Okay, so we meet Suganta, the family's 16-year-old daughter. She gets sent to the market, and on her way, she finds herself walking by that same quiet riverbank, and that's where she sees another girl. This girl is stunning. Beautiful face, these huge eyes lined with dark kohl that kind of look as deep as the river itself. She's totally captivating, but there's also something off. A real unsettling stillness about her.
So this beautiful girl, she doesn't say hi, she doesn't ask for a name, she just asks this one really specific, really weird question. She asks if Suganda will give her the fish that she's on her way to buy from the market. It's a very strange, almost demanding kind of question.
Just then, Suganda's little sister calls out to her, and it kind of breaks the spell. Suganda just turns her head for a split second to answer, and when she looks back, the girl is gone, just vanished. There's no way she could have run off that fast. It's like she just melted into the air.
So Suganda is obviously pretty shaken up, but she keeps going to the market. But that meeting by the river, that was just the opening act. The walk home, as it starts to get dark, that's when the real horror show begins.
All right, let's just walk through this terrifying trip home step by step. First, the sun is going down. Suganda's walking near the river again, and suddenly this disgusting, overpowering smell of rotting fish just hits her. Then she gets that classic, horrible feeling that she's not alone, you know? Like a shadow is right there with her, just keeping pace. And then she hears it, a voice.
It's just a whisper, but it's echoing that same bizarre question from the girl at the river. Except this time, there is nobody there. The voice is just floating in the air around her, and it sends this icy chill right down her spine. So naturally, Shuganda starts walking faster. Clutching that bag of fish, her heart is just hammering in her chest, and the voice comes again. But this time, it's not a whisper. It's pure rage. It's a furious, demanding scream that seems to be coming from everywhere at once.
And that's it. That's the breaking point. She is just consumed by pure terror. She drops everything she's holding and just bolts. She runs for her life, not looking back, just running and running until she literally collapses at her own front door, sobbing into her sister's arms.
So the family, they're all trying to calm Sugandha down, blaming it on the spooky stories and the dark. They figure the worst is over now that she's safe inside. They could not be more wrong, because whatever was out there by the river, it followed her home.
So, late that night, deep in the middle of the night, Sugandha's mom, Mandakini, she wakes up. She hears a weird noise coming from the kitchen. She figures, it's probably just a stray cat or something, so she gets up to check it out, and she is completely unprepared for what she's about to find.
What she walks in on is just the absolute climax of this whole horrifying story. There, in the dark kitchen, is her daughter, Sugandha, crouched on the floor, and she is just tearing into the raw fish from the market with her bare hands. Her face, her clothes, they're smeared with fish blood. And when she looks up at her mom, her expression is not human. It's something terrifying, something demonic.
Her mom screams her name, and this thing that looks like Sugandha speaks, and the voice that comes out is not her daughter's. It delivers this one final horrifying line that confirms everything. The thing from the river, the MESNO BHOOT, it's got her. The spirit's hunger has finally been satisfied, and it cost a human soul. And that's where the story just ends. It leaves us with this absolutely chilling thought. See, this wasn't just about a one-time snack. The spirit said it will now live with her, or maybe as her. And that leaves you wondering, if a ghost's hunger never ever goes away, how many more times is it going to make her feed it?